All right, so welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be talking about Harvey Miguel Robinson.
Harvey Miguel Robinson.
Yeah, so this is a case that really gets under your skin, I think. And we're going to be using Wikipedia articles and just some various online news sources for this one.
Okay.
And I think that, one of the things that really stands out about this case is how young he was when he started.
Yes.
When this all started, and we always try to figure out, like, how did someone get to that point? How
Right.
did they end up where they are? And so, yeah, we're going to kind of go through his life and see if we can figure some things out.
Yeah, definitely. I think the goal is to figure out how Robinson's early life, and the experiences he had shaped the path that led him to become a serial killer at such a young age.
Right. And it's like fascinating and disturbing right from the start. Like one of the first things that I noticed was that his birth date and the date of his arrest are exactly the same.
Wow.
December 6th.
December 6th.
What are the odds?
That's a chilling coincidence for sure. And when you start to look into his childhood, it gets even more disturbing because the seeds of violence were planted very early on. His father was an alcoholic and incredibly abusive, not only to Robinson's mother, but also to his mistress, whom he actually ended up murdering.
Not just a troubled home life, but actually witnessing extreme violence.
Yes, exactly. And this is where I think it gets really interesting from a psychological perspective. Research shows that exposure to violence, especially within the family, can really deeply impact a child's development. It can desensitize them to brutality and increase the risk of aggressive behavior later in life.
So is this what happened with Robinson?
It's impossible to say for sure, but it's definitely a question worth considering.
Especially when you think about the fact that his trouble with the law started so young. He was only 9 at the time of his first arrest.
9 years old? Yeah, that's a stark reminder that this wasn't some sudden descent into violence. There were warning signs. His school records showed that he was a child dealing with severe conduct disorder. Threats, outbursts, escalating aggression, those are often red flags for potential criminal behavior. This case really highlights the importance of early interventions and support.
Yeah, I mean, if those signs are missed or just dismissed, the consequences can be just absolutely devastating.
Definitely.
And in Robinson's case, they were tragically real. And so I guess let's talk about his victims a little bit. Joan Burkhart, who was a 29-year-old nurse's aide.
Okay.
Charlotte Schnoyer, just 15 years old and working as a newspaper carrier. And Jessica Jean Fortney, a 47-year-old grandmother. The diversity of their ages and their backgrounds makes it seem like there wasn't really a pattern.
Right. It almost seems random.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes this case so unsettling, especially when you think about Charlotte Schmoyer delivering newspapers. It's such an ordinary, everyday activity. Most people wouldn't even consider it dangerous, but this case just shatters that sense of security and highlights the vulnerability we all face in different ways.
Yeah, it's terrifying. Because it's just like you just never know.
You never know.
And it's like that could be anyone.
Exactly.
It's not like there weren't chances to maybe stop him, though, before things went this far.
Right.
Between the murders of Joan Burkhart and Charlotte Schmoyer Robinson actually did some time in prison for burglary.
Oh, wow.
Do you think, could that have been a turning point for him?
Good question. Was the intervention effective enough? Did it really address the underlying issues driving his behavior? We often focus so much on punishment, but rehabilitation is just as crucial, especially with young offenders.
Right.
What kind of support did Robinson get during and after prison? Those details often get missed, but they can offer really valuable insights into preventing future tragedies.
Yeah, and right before his final capture, he got pulled over for speeding.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just another missed opportunity, I guess.
Yeah, possibly. But there's one encounter that really stands out, not just for the violence, but also the resilience of the woman who survived it. Denise Sam Calley.
Denise Sam Calley.
Her story is remarkable.
Yeah, Robinson attacked her, but she fought back with everything she had managed to escape and run for her life.
Wow.
She even ran outside, and Robinson chased after her, still determined to hurt her.
Oh my gosh.
It's hard to imagine the terror she must have felt.
It really speaks volumes about her strength and courage in the face of such unimaginable danger. And her bravery didn't end there. She actually played a huge role in bringing Robinson to justice.
How so?
She became the bait to lure Robinson out.
What?
Yeah,
That must have been terrifying.
it takes incredible strength to put yourself at risk like that, knowing the danger. But she did it to protect others, to stop him from hurting anyone else.
And it worked, right?
It did. Robinson showed up, there was a shootout with the police, and although Robinson got away, he was injured.
Oh.
That led him to seek treatment at a local hospital. That's where they finally caught him.
Wow. So a dramatic end to what thankfully was a short-lived reign of terror.
Yeah.
But the story doesn't end there, right? The legal battles that followed were complex and raised a lot of questions about how the justice system handles these types of cases.
Right. Robinson was initially sentenced to death,
Okay.
but because he was 17 at the time of Joan Burghart's murder, he was later sentenced to life in prison for that specific crime.
Okay, so that brings up a whole other set of questions about sentencing minors for violent crimes.
Right. It becomes this question of rehabilitation versus punishment.
Yeah.
Is life in prison really a deterrent? Can someone that young who commits such a horrific crime truly ever be rehabilitated? There are no easy answers, and this case really forces us to confront those difficult questions.
And to make things even more complex, Robinson actually waived his right to appeal in the Charlotte case.
Oh, wow.
So that led to another life sentence, but then the Pennsylvania Supreme Court actually upheld the death sentence for the murder of Jessica Jean Fortney.
So he's facing a mix of both life sentences and a death sentence.
Yeah.
Wow, that's complicated.
Yeah, and throughout all of the legal proceedings, one suggestion from the judge really stands out. During one of the resentencing hearings, the judge actually urged Robinson to think about donating his brain to science after his death.
Oh my gosh.
He even called it the one gift you can give.
That's a chilling suggestion.
Yeah, but it gets right to the heart of this enduring mystery.
It does. What leads someone down this path? What is going on inside the mind of a serial killer, especially one so young? Studying the brains of people like Robinson is one way researchers hope to find answers, to shed light on the dark side of human behavior, which could lead to better prevention and intervention strategies.
Obviously, any kind of research that involves people who have committed these kinds of acts comes with ethical considerations.
Right.
It's a debate that continues to this day.
Absolutely. But the potential to learn from these tragic cases is significant. The more we understand about the factors that contribute to violence, the better equipped we'll be to prevent it.
You know, and this case in particular has gotten the attention of filmmakers and documentary producers, further fueling the public's fascination with trying to understand these crimes. There's a film, No One Could Protect Her, about Denise Samcali's survival, and several TV shows like Your Worst Nightmare, Killer Kids, Most Evil, and Dead Night have featured his case.
True crime definitely has a powerful hold on our collective imagination.
Yeah.
I think it stems from this desire to understand the senseless, to understand the darkness that could be hidden beneath the surface of seemingly ordinary people.
I think you're right.
But we have to remember that behind these stories, behind the headlines and documentaries, are real people whose lives have been forever changed.
Yeah.
The victims, their families, the survivors, they all carry the weight of these events long after the media attention goes away.
It's crucial to approach these stories with sensitivity and respect, and really acknowledge the human cost of these crimes.
Yeah.
So as we get to the end of our deep dives into the life and crimes of Harvey Miguel Robinson, I keep coming back to this one question. Can we ever really understand the kind of darkness that would drive someone to do these horrific things, especially at such a young age?
It's a question that haunts a lot of people. Criminologists, psychologists, really all of society. Is it nature? Is it nurture? Or is it some really complicated mix of both? We might never have a definitive answer.
It's almost like we're trying to solve something that can't be solved.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. But I think even if we can't fully understand the why, it's really important to remember that cases like this are statistically rare. They're terrifying, but they don't happen all the time.
Right. We can't let fear control us. We can't let it dictate how we live our lives.
Exactly. Awareness is important. Personal safety is important, but so is focusing on the things that might prevent these tragedies from happening in the first place. Like what?
Well, I mean, things like addressing childhood trauma and improving mental health support and creating communities where people feel connected and supported.
Yes, exactly. Those things are so important.
For our listeners who want to learn more about this case, the sources we've used are a really good place to start.
Yeah?
You can find court documents, news reports, even interviews with some of the people involved. It's definitely a journey that will challenge your assumptions and probably leave you with more questions than answers.
And that's okay. These are complicated issues with no easy solutions. But I think engaging with these tough topics and trying to understand the forces at play can hopefully help us contribute to a future where these tragedies happen less often.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the case of Harvey Miguel Robinson. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and as always, take care.